Welcome back. This is game number 5. Yeah, game number 5 between Minchul, who is playing as the Blue Terran under the name Barcode S Barcode. And he is playing against Sponking, also known as GoldSCV in SCW, or as LeeBokGu on the Korean server. And he is now playing the Orange Protoss. Both players have 3 games under their belt in this series. This is game number... I am completely messing up. This is game number 3. 4. Jesus Christ, my memory. This is game number 4. The previous match was game number 3. But I titled it game number 4 by accident, which I will correct before uploading this video, so you won't even know that it was game number 4, mislabeled as game number 3. Anyway, all that aside, this is game number 4. The score is 2-1 in favor of LeeBokGu, aka Sponking. But let's see if Minchul can turn this around in game number 4, because he is playing the Terran, and he is an amazing Terran player, although in this series he has not won as Terran just yet. But we just have to wait and see. LeeBokGu, on the other hand, sorry for that. I need a glass of water because I've been casting both these games in a row, right after each other. Alright, my voice should be doing alright now. I'm sorry for this little bit of a distraction, but I mean, nothing is happening. I can talk about anything I want. And yeah, so LeeBokGu started off with the Nexus first, followed by 2 gateways and a Pilotless Choke, and a 3rd gateway actually. So that's already a slight deviation from the 2 gateway build we usually see. I can't quite recall if he did this exact build in the very first game. There is a Forge. He has not added on gas yet. And Minchul goes for the 3 barrack build, followed by a late gas. Yep, that will be late gas. I wasn't sure if this SCV in particular was going to make a gas here, but he just pulled it off by accident instead. It has to be an accident. I see no reason why he would move that SCV around. He's saving up minerals for his first CC. There is the CC. Scouting the top corner spot, in the middle top spot. Minchul scouting with Zealot and a probe. Almost halfway done in the scouting process. More Marines moving out to scout. He really wants to find his opponent and know exactly what he's doing. Although most of the time, Protoss players in PvT don't really mix it up, but LeeBokGu is mixing things up. In this case, there is a cybernetics core, there's gas. He almost has... Yeah, it's going to take a while before he has the gas that he needs. This Marine's going to go in all the way and see the 3 gateways. Let me see if he saw them. He saw the 3 gateways. He doesn't go in any... He tries to micro his Marine in a little bit deeper, but he missed micros, and his Marine dies to the Zealot. And there was a probe from Sponking that got sniped by Minchul. My voice is not feeling too well. And now we have LeeBokGu moving out of his base, trying to put the pressure onto Minchul, forcing Minchul to react in a very specific way, which is namely a bunker in the front, and a little bit later probably also some depots in front of that one. And the first Zealot goes in and it dies before LeeBokGu pulls back his Zealot. It's very unfortunate for him to mismanage that little tiny bit. The rest was just a tiny bit too slow. And I'll admit, it's very hard to react exactly in time all the time, which is something these players pretty much always already do. They'll pretty much always already react exactly in time and minimize the units lost, and are able to get as much as they can out of using their units. There's the first scan. There's the Academy. And he might or may not have stim upgrade already. I wasn't looking. There's the 2nd depot to build that wall here, and a 3rd depot will be constructed in between to keep these Zealots out, making it harder for LeeBokGu to put the pressure on him. There's a robotics facility. There is the Citadel of Adun. Zealot legs are almost halfway through. And instead of going for more robotics facilities, going for more gateways, which is even a bigger variation of what we were used to seeing on the channel in PvT games. There is the second robotics facility, but the order is changed up. He will have way more gateway units out on the map before his first Reaver comes out. Usually the Reaver should be out about now and flying. Oh, well, maybe in about 5 seconds or 10 seconds it should be coming out and flying over to start putting pressure on the wall or going for the drop. In this case, the Reaver will be out way past the 6-minute mark. That's a very slow Reaver, but in exchange of having a very slow Reaver, he will have way more Zealots out here in the front on the middle of the map to help in putting pressure on Minchul's front. And there's a total of 3 robotic facilities. There is no Templar's Archive out yet, so we will not be seeing any early Storm or Dark Templar work. Instead, we will be seeing a 4th robotic facility, so he's really going on... He has to be planning on going for a very, very heavy drop game without Templars, but with Reavers and Zealots. And I'm really curious to see that because LeeBokGu has amazing shuttle control, really quick reactions, and multitasking. He's able to go in from 2 different directions at the same time and control both shuttles as if he's just controlling a single one on a single location. And going here for the front, trying to take down these depots, but I don't think this is worth it at all. I don't think this is worth it at all because it doesn't even kill a single depot, but loses about 12 or 13 Zealots trying to take a single depot down. So all 3 depots survives. He is unable to get this SCV in there because this turret is blocking access to that depot. So we'll have to construct a new depot, or maybe the hole here will stay open. And there it goes down. He has 3 shuttles loaded up. A single one has a Reaver in it. He's going to load these Zealots in the middle into the shuttles too. We'll have a total of 8 Zealots in 3 shuttles and a Reaver. And still no still no Templar's Archive, but he's adding on more gateways. There is air weapon upgrade, so we will definitely be seeing very early carries because there's also a second cybernetics core out on the map. His base. There comes the drop. He sees the turrets, so he's realigning his shuttles to fly all the way against the southernmost edge of the map. He gets his Reaver out, but the Reaver gets taken down before it can take down a single shot. Was it either he didn't have any Scarabs loaded up or it was bugging out? I'm not entirely sure, but that's the most fortunate thing imaginable in Minchul's favor because now he only lost Marines to the Zealots, but also took down the Zealots, took down the Reaver. Loses pretty much nothing at all, although he loses 2 turrets, but that's minimal loss. That's 150 minerals. I think he lost about 300 minerals in Marines to the Zealots. If the Reaver had gotten off a shot, he could have lost 12 Marines in one shot, which is 600 minerals in total, which is a huge loss. He'd have to replenish them all, and it would open up his base for second drops. Because now LeeBokGu does have 7 shuttles all loaded up. Some aren't fully loaded up, but most of them are fully loaded up. And I count 4 Reavers and about 12 or so Zealots in there. If that first drop had done more damage, this one could have been the game ender. But Minchul sees it flying in. He doesn't respond yet. He finally responds. LeeBokGu unloads all of his units near the turrets on the side and the depots outside of the tank range, but he uses a single tank. He's got to take down the tank with the Reavers very quickly. No, he uses 3 Zealots instead. More tanks moving in from the choke. He really has to take down these... Yeah, he takes down the Reavers. Actually, the Reavers take down 2 tanks, and he takes down 3 depots. Stops production on the armories, takes down 4 turrets, take down 5 tanks in total, kills about 10 or 20 Marines in the process, so that's a lot of units lost for Minchul, and he's now supply stuck too, whereas LeeBokGu isn't supply stuck at all. He's thrown down a total of 9 Stargates already, carrier upgrades on the way, so he's in a really, really good spot to start putting real pressure on Minchul. Although Minchul does have 2,000 minerals in his bank, sitting there, so he can build a base really quickly. It will all depend on whether this drop, flying in from the northwest, will do any damage or not. And he flies in. Is he going to drop it on top of the minerals? He's going flying in deeper all the way onto the minerals, and he gets all of his reavers out there on the floor, but not a single shot hits an SCV. And there is a shot. Will the Scarab hit an SCV? Oh, he kills almost all of Minchul's SCVs as Minchul tried to spread his SCVs out there to cause the Scarab to bug out, but he gets all the SCVs that Minchul pulled out of his minerals. And the only thing Minchul has going for him is the fact that he didn't lose all of his SCVs, but lost most of his SCVs, while still having about 1,000 minerals in reserve. But that is the last thing he wanted to happen, because now LeeBokGu can completely unopposed make his carriers without Minchul able to counterattack or keep building onto his base to build and construct an answer to the carriers. So he'll have to rely on having an inadequate answer to those carriers. He is making some Valkyries. He is not making a Goliath range upgrade because he can afford it, but he's still going for tanks. Not making Goliaths. Another drop flying in. This time from the opposite side, the top east corner. No, not the northeast corner. He's going to fly around all the way to the east. Yes, it is the northeast corner. After all, he drops the drop. He drops the units near the depots again. 2 tanks caught in the crossfire. Minchul now responding, but most of his units get stuck behind the depots. Some Marines get through the depots, and that's 5 depots taken down. Minchul supply stuck again. A couple of Marines dying too, a couple tanks died, turrets dying on the side too. It's once again a lot of minerals lost for Minchul in that exchange there. But once again, it's not the amount of damage that LeeBokGu would have ideally done. I actually think he could have flown that drop all the way into the minerals and done even more damage, maybe taken a couple of shots off on those SCVs. But he goes for a very conservative drop, probably just to buy himself more time and keep Minchul distracted and occupied, to prevent him from having an adequate answer to these carriers that have finished in the meantime and are on, I can't see the upgrades, but I assume he's on 2-2 upgrades for his air armor and air weapons. That's 9 carriers finished up. A second round of carriers is on the way. He's even making some Corsairs, which I assume is for the drops. Though I don't really see any added use anymore for Corsairs because he can fly in under the cover of his interceptors. Oh, this is loaded up, not with a drop, but just with 6 zealots. Probably there to assist in taking down ground forces once he gets his carriers over on these turrets. He's going to take down the map vision that Minchul has on the sides. Minchul in the meantime has a total of 7 Valkyries finished. No Goliaths on the way, so he's going to have to rely on just his Valkyries. Not a second volley of Valkyries isn't on the way. He's supply stuck again. There's the minerals to make depots, but the pressure that's on him has done a really good job. And a drop flies in, but it's just Zealots. Zealots dropping on top of the Marines and inside of Minchul's base, taking down some Marines here on the edge, taking down some turrets too. But the Valkyries actually wind up doing a good job in scaring off these carriers, as most of the interceptors that LeeBokGu had in his carriers die, and now he has to wait and replenish the interceptor count. But a second wave of 7 carriers comes flying in with the assistance of a couple of Corsairs. And is that a disruption? No, he doesn't have a disruption web on the way. Storm is finally on the way. That's a very late storm for PvG standards, 14 minutes in. But he hasn't wound up meeting the storm at all so far. Upgrades on the way from Minchul. LeeBokGu now trying to take down the last couple of buildings that Minchul had over the hill, providing him vision over the hill. Making it harder for Minchul to focus on the carriers up on the hill. Because when you're up on the hill, you cannot see them. Let's see if I can demonstrate that. just like this. Here you can see it really well. You cannot see onto the hill unless you have a unit flying close to the hill or on the hill itself, which is a really huge advantage that the Protoss has over the Terran. When the Protoss is playing with carriers and now he's going to attack, hidden by the interface, he's going to attack, flying in a little bit deeper. Is he going for the CC? He's targeting the CC. Minchill's going to try to repair the CC really quickly, but the Valkyries have all died to the Corsair fire, so the Corsairs do end up being really useful in taking down the Valkyries. But while all that is happening, Minchill has gone for a very smart counterattack. Because these tanks cannot fight against carriers anyway, he might as well push out and put the pressure on LeeBokGu. And LeeBokGu has nothing in his base at all to help to defend himself against these units. But meanwhile, in the base of Minchill, the carriers have taken down 3 of these command centers that Minchill had, and there's now a huge gap between the mineral patch and the place the minerals are taken to by the SCVs. But even here, look at this, he's going in all the way. A huge swarm of Dark Templars is finished. That's at least 14 Dark Templars pushing all these tanks and marines away. But there is the vessel. The vessel's going to be scared off by the Corsair, so he's going to need a scan really quickly, or he's going to lose all of the units that he has here. And yes, in fact, he does end up losing all of the units he has there. He's going to be forced to pull back. The Dark Templar is doing an amazing job at putting a stop to this push. The vessel goes down, and while all that was happening, all of the carriers have gone down too, to the Goliaths. And Minchill now repositioning his command centers so he can start mining again without having to cover the huge distance, but instead a smaller distance, although this is still way slower than if he still had his main command center placed right here, because he has to travel a short distance to run a couple of depots to once again hit that 200 supply max. And Minchill, actually, he didn't lose any SCVs in the entire fight, so he's still pretty good on his income. And the downside in all of this actually is that LeeBokGu lost all of his carriers and has to transition to a ground force now. And this is actually completely in favor of Minchill, because Minchill now has a really strong pushing force. And he has ground dominance over Minchill. And he's going to have to throw out his scans really quickly. There comes the scan. The Dark Templars have been rendered useless. They do take a couple of units down with them, but all the Dark Templars go down very rapidly. The Corsairs that LeeBokGu had out on the map are also dying quite quickly. There's a drop flying in. There's still a single carrier there, so we can use this single carrier to provide interceptor coverage on the turrets for the drop to fly in with. And there's a total of 4 Templars in there. The other shuttle is filled with a single Zealot as a distraction unit. And he flies the drop in. The drop goes in all the way. Minchill doesn't see it. He doesn't respond. Templars come out and the Templars storm all of the SCV. Every single SCV that Minchill had goes down. He lost 75 supply there, although I'm sure he also lost a couple of units here. There are now Reavers out in the front at LeeBokGu's base. Minchill, realizing what has happened, now has to go or die. This is the time to go for it. There is no turning back. You either have to push in now and establish complete control over LeeBokGu's base, or lose the game, because you're broke. You're absolutely broke. How many SCVs does he have here? He is 9 SCVs mining at the moment. And this is a really strong force that LeeBokGu has here, microing these Reavers to prevent them from taking too much damage. And there is a defensive matrix coming out on a tank. And most of the Reavers that LeeBokGu had actually do go down. He repositions his Reavers on top of the tanks. Now the tanks are going to die too, because he can no longer fire on the Reavers. And the Zealot's doing a really good job at taking down the tanks. And both Reavers survive. Vultures now rolling in to finish off the Zealots. Vultures are really amazing against Zealots. I don't know if he has mines. If he has mines, he should place them down, but there's simply way too many Zealots. The Zealots are taking really good care of the tank in the back. The Zealots overpowering the Vultures too, because the Vultures are lacking upgrades against the Zealots that are in... Actually, the Zealots also lacking upgrades. They only have shield upgrades. It looks like LeeBokGu wasn't planning on transitioning back to the ground game. He's on 0-3-0. And he is not upgrading his ground forces at all. Whereas Minchill is on 0-1, which is still worse than 0-3-0, because those shields really do help him out a bit. But it's just like both players aren't any upgrades at all, which is really interesting to see for such a high-level game. He's microing his Reavers, but both Reavers are going to die to the tank fire. But LeeBokGu is still way on top. He's 66 supply ahead over llllllll, and llllllll is very slowly replenishing his SCVs, which he can do pretty quickly considering he has 4 CCs out there. But it's still quite a distance. This CC is really placed really unfortunately because I think he can place a little bit closer. But they're going such a long way compared to this side. That's really slowing down his income. And a huge force now running into mines. And that's actually a lot of zealots dying to the mines. I think he took down about 10 zealots there to the mines. And the zealots now walking into the midst of the bunkers and the units that llllllll has placed at his choke. But the zealots go in all the way, but the zealots don't do enough damage. Although they do take down almost way over half of the units that llllllll had placed there inside his choke. But llllll's income is really bad right now, and he won't be able to replenish his units in time because, as you can see, his income is so very slow. It's taking forever just to mine 100 minerals in total, and that's really unfortunate. I think it's partially due to this huge distance he has to cover. If you were to take all of these SCVs on this side to the other side, he would have a little bit more income, but it's gonna take a long time for him to get his mineral income back on track against a player who has all of his income still. And there's a drop coming in from the side again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. He's going to fly it in under the coverage of the carrier's interceptors. He's pulling back his units on the middle. Units still walking into mines, doing a really good job of placing mines there in the middle. Drop on the side, still flying in. There is a carrier coming in to assist. There's 2 carriers out on the map. He still hasn't sent this one in. He's going to fly around and completely ignore the turrets, although both shuttles do get fired on by the shuttles. Open up this interface real quick. There is a Reaver, and the Reaver doesn't get a shut off because the Scarab gets stuck behind the depot and the armory. And there he does get a shut off, microing it so amazingly well. That's really impressive. And he does take down a couple of SCVs, but not as many as he would have liked to take down. Well, llllllll was down on 24 minerals there. That's very painful for him to be suffering like that under so many of these very well coordinated attacks from LeeBokGu. LeeBokGu now flying in a shuttle in the front, probably an accidental rally point that's causing it to fly over there. He managed to pull it back in time, avoid himself from losing it. Another drop flying in from the front. There's a carrier hanging here just in case to provide support with interceptors. He flies the drop in, flies it in, it goes in all the way unopposed. Templars come out, that's 14 single 4 and 24. He kills 28 SCVs in total. llllll realizes the game is over because his income is completely decimated. He can no longer produce any more units. Not after losing another 28 SCVs there. And LeeBokGu being very rich, 13,000 minerals ahead of llllll. And 200. I'm not sure how many supply llllll was on before he tapped out and called it GG, but I assume it was below 100. And that makes it 3-1 for LeeBokGu against llllll. Honestly, when I started this series, I expected it to go in favor of llllll. I really did, but it looks like LeeBokGu is better than I thought. Way better than I thought. So yeah, thanks for watching game number 4. I'll be going straight into game number 5. See you soon.